Happy race day, everyone. We're in Phoenix this week. With me this week, Dane, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Ready for another nice race day.
I see Andre's in here. Happy race day, Andre. James was in here when I scheduled the show this morning, as usual. Cheers to him. Absolutely awesome. Chase that Elliott. Every week when I come in here to get things set up and running, I see the Chase the Elliott in it. It's race day when it's Chase the Elliott. So thanks, James. Appreciate it. We're going to see some racing today. Like I said, we're in Phoenix. Got some things I want to run through here real quick. It is the, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. I think it's the Ruoff Mortgage. I don't know. Mortgage 500 at Phoenix Raceway. So look at a couple things here. It's a short flat track. It's asphalt, 1.022 miles. 312 laps. There's your stage length, 60, 125, and 127. Different banking at each end of the track. So turns 1 and 2 are 11 degrees, while turns 3 and 4 are 9 degrees. And then something else I added here, the start-finish line was moved after the 2018 spring race. So from the 2018 playoff race, which was the last race before the final at Homestead, I was actually at that race. That's where I bought this hat, by the way. Kyle Busch won. The last time he's won in Phoenix, unfortunately. But anyways, so if you really want to dig in and go a little bit deeper into the track history, go back to the 2018, the second race in 2018. So we've now got 5 races with the new configuration. What they did was they moved the start finish line from the backstretch to the entry of the big dog leg, which was turn 2 at the time. So now it's turn 4. So moving on, looking at a couple other things here. If you want to look at teams and stuff, we got our entry list. We've got our Phoenix track history. We're going to refer to this a few times. This is just detailed information on the loop data for all of the last 10 races, and then some other stuff that I threw in here, including correlation. And that takes us to the track position tool, because that's what that's looking at, is the correlation of qualifying position to finishing position at every single track in NASCAR, and the last 10 races for each. And then I've got averages of the last 2, 5, and 10 races. And Phoenix is number 1 for the last 2 and 5 races at each track in terms of track position, the correlation of qualifying up front. So I call it the track position tool for sure. So this is a track where we want drivers up front. And in terms of dominators here, Dane, we've been looking at about one driver leading 100 plus in almost every single one of these races. And it's nice because we see a lot of movement throughout the races. So generally we see 3 to 4 dominators, like a lot. We're looking at the 50 plus number of drivers that lead 50 plus laps. We're seeing 3 and 4, at least 2 in every one of these races, and a high percentage of 3 and 4 drivers. So how are you approaching the dominators? Say, who's your top dominator, and how many are you kind of looking at to form your lineups?
Yeah, most of my lineups have 2, some with 3, and even hand building in the 3 max that I did, I even had one that you could build 4. So it was, like you said, I think we will see some movement. We've seen it a lot already this year with the new car and things, with some multiple dominators, maybe more than we're used to. So who knows, maybe you could see 4 dominators today. I might throw that one in there that I ended up landing on. Some of the dominators are cheaper today, but starting at the top, I think my favorite 2 at the very top of everybody over 10K is going to be Chase and Larson again. I know Larson will go to the rear today, so it's going to hurt his upside, but I did not expect him to lead the very, very early on in this race anyway. We'll get to Blaney and Hamlin, who I think would be 2A or 2B to Chase here above 10K for me. But I would expect one of those top 3 cars starting to lead early on. So I did not expect Larson to lead early. I think the competition caution will help him. He's going to be up there very quick again. He finds a way back to the front with the car. He was good in practice. So I think he's going to be the top guy up there for me. I have 50% in 20 max today. And then I just said 2A, 2B, Chase and Denny are definitely right behind him. Very close. I have 40% of Hamlin right now and 35% of Chase. So I like both of those. Chase even has a little bit of place differential starting 19th. Just adds to his upside today. What are you doing at the top?
Well, in terms of dominators, I'm just going to go and right into Louis' question here in terms of Larson. I know you like him a lot more than me. As of now, I'm kind of in fade mode on Larson. We've seen this similar thing. He needs to dominate, and I'm going to jump right over to the matrix here. So right now, if he wins the race, comes back through the race, has a good solid race, works his way up, kind of like he did last week, and wins the race or even second place, he has no shot at even 5x for that. So we're going to need laps led. And what I'm kind of looking at, if he leads 20, say near in the final stage or whatever, 5 fast laps in there as well, we're looking at about 5x return, winning the race and leading 20 laps. For him to really pay off and get into that 6x range to win a GPP, we're probably looking at needing more than 40 laps led. So we're going to need 50 plus laps led. I don't think that's in his cards today. So for me, I'm kind of with Louis on underweight. If I get up in the range of 20 to 50 lineups, I'm going to have a little bit of exposure. But right now I'm in a time crunch. Let's just put it that way with this NBA late news crap that just happened. But I'm probably looking at 10 to 15 lineups. So I'm probably going to have no Kyle Larson. And for me at the top, before I get into my favorite picks, or I want to answer Sean's, I know he's been waiting patiently here with the new cars. Is track history less important? Not really for me, because you're still looking at the same spots on the track. Like for drivers, they're still looking at the same spots into the turns. They're still looking at attacking the corners the same way. And this is a track especially where that's going to be, they're going to rely on their notebooks since, like I said, the fall race of 2018, since they moved that start finish line a little bit, because the restarts are absolutely insane. 4 or 5 wide going into that corner. So I think it may be a little less important because the car's new, and this also is the 4th race of the season, the 5th different track if you include the Coliseum. So they're still figuring out these cars. So the variance in NASCAR was always high in terms of a DFS sport rankings. It's even higher now this season with they're figuring out the brand new car. There's mechanical failures, stuff like that. So, but in terms of track history, I'm still looking at guys that are consistently good here, and that takes me to my top guy who hasn't been as consistent as others, but it comes down to speed this weekend. So it's kind of a mix of things that you're looking for. But I really like Blaney on the pole. He had not a career best, but his 4th top 5 and his, what do we got here? His 5th top 10 in his last 6 races at this track. So he's been solid since they changed the configuration. He got in a crash in that first race when they changed it up. But this weekend, he's been really fast, 4th in overall average speed in practice and 2nd in 5, 10, and 15. And then if we go over to the practice tab, which I didn't get added to the main sheet here this week, I wanted to see if he was running 20s. Yeah, he was 2nd through 20, 25, and 30, although there was only 4 drivers that got past that 20-lap average threshold. So Blaney's my number 1. He's my top dominator. The price is just, as the 7th most expensive, he doesn't even need to lead and be the top dominator, I don't think, to hit. We need 57, 58 points for that 6x return, and I believe we can get that out of about 50 and 10 here. Yeah, so a 2nd place finish with 50 laps led is still going to give him that 6x return. So that gives us a little bit of safety with that price being a little bit lower as a top dominator. We don't necessarily need it, but I think he has that upside to hit. Well, what do we got here now? Yeah, we're in 7, 8, 9x range if he leads 100 plus laps. So I do like that. I love that upside there at his price. And then William Byron I like as well. He was showing a ton of speed, 2nd in overall. And then he was 1st in 5 and 10 lap averages. And then Larson was fastest in, I believe, I was just over there, 15, 20, 25, and 30. Although, like I said, there was only that many cars, but he's got a really good long run car. So I can see your argument there for liking Larson and coming through with the race. But just for me, he needs to lead, I would say, 40 to 50 laps for him to hit that threshold that we're looking for. But he may get enough fast laps. He may be the top guy that gets fast laps this race, and that could jump in there and really help out that as well. But for me right now, I'm off Larson. It's Blaney and Byron, who I like a lot. And then my other top dominator here was Hamlin. Hamlin actually a little bit over Byron myself, but it comes down to I won't play all these 3 in the same lineup. I will play 2 of these 3, but I won't play all 3 of them. You just rarely see 1, 2, and 3 being the top dominators in a race. So I'm going to pick 2 of those 3 in a lineup, and that's kind of one of my rules is out of Hamlin, Blaney, and Byron to keep my exposure just to 2 of those 3 in my lineup. I do like Chase. Truex would be my next favorite. I love the place differential with both of them. I don't like the practice speed with either of them, especially Truex. I didn't get to watch. I was on the road, so I didn't get to watch practice or qualifying. So Did you watch any of it? Did you see what happened there in practice and qualifying with Truex and why his speeds were off?
No, I didn't watch it, but I
I'm
do
not
know
worried.
I saw on Twitter that they split it into 2 different sessions, and I don't know, it just
Yeah,
added some crazier stuff to the practice too. So,
his price. It's just
yeah, I'm not sure.
a driver that's good here. First of all, he finished first
Yep,
and second here last year. He won the spring race. He's under 10K, starting
yep.
20th. He's going to be chalk with Elliott. Elliott's only, what do we got? 800 more, 900 more at starting 19th. So I think
Mhm.
that's a good, for cash games. I think Elliott Truex is a great start. I don't think you really need to nail the Dominator. You can pick one of those other guys, but you can easily go Elliott, Truex, and then Blaney or Byron, and easily build a lineup that you're going to be comfortable with for sure. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at the top. I would rank them right now. Blaney, probably Truex number 2 for me with the place differential, and then down to Byron, and then up to Elliott, and then probably Hamlin right now. Those would be my top 5 in the 9K and up. Actually, I'm going to fit Harvick in there as well. So I got 6 guys from 9K and up that I really like, and I'm just kind of going to concentrate my exposure on those 6 rather than jump in and try and grab these guys that I don't have exposure to of those, which would be Larson, Busch, Logano. I'm not going to have any exposure to those guys. And then obviously, because I've liked so many guys up there, I'm kind of skipping over this mid-tier a little bit. But where are you going after those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'll mention that 9K range, and Blaney is. I do expect him to lead early. He would be my first choice. So that's why I kind of think he just on the kind of the race script that I'm going with. I kind of think that Larson and Blaney pair well together in just the fact that Blaney can lead while Larson's getting back to the front, and that should, I think, be by the end of stage 1. So I think he does have the upside. It's just a matter of getting out front, and like you said, getting those fastest laps. So after that range right there, I'm actually kind of skipping from Harvick all the way until you get to Reddick. So Harvick, Kyle, or Kurt Busch, and Bowman, I'm skipping all 3. I know Harvick has been very good here. He's got some place differential, but for me, I think, and I mentioned this in chat yesterday with Xfinity, it just kind of comes down to a thing that you gotta take a stand somewhere, and I think Harvick is going to be pretty popular here. So I'll just move my exposure to down 600 to a guy who I think is having a very strong start to the year in Tyler Reddick, who I think is going to have an awesome year overall, and then up to a guy like you mentioned. With William Byron. So Tyler Reddick, yeah, I really like him in that 8K range. Have about 30% of him right now. I think he can get up there and dominate. It's just a matter of, can he improve on how he's done well here, or how he's done here in the Cup Series in the past. And I didn't look back at how he had done back in Xfinity when he was in top tier equipment. I think this car and this team is on to something for this year. Unlike years past where they were kind of the second tier Chevrolet teams for sure. I think they're much closer to these top guys this year. So really like Reddick. Christopher Bale would be kind of a, if you were fading those other guys up top and hope that Bale could get out front early and lead, I think that's where you're looking at if you're playing Christopher Bale. Keselowski is a complete fade for me. I know I'm not looking much back at the Coliseum, but if you'll remember back to that, he was horrid at the Coliseum. And this is, I know it's a longer track. It's not a quarter mile, but it is a short, flat track with some similarities. So, and they struggled mightily in practice, that both of those cars did. So Keselowski's a pure fade for me. And then Chastain, who was very good last week, I think you got to have exposure to him again, starting 17th, 8,100, and that I'll stop right there. But and I'll let you go into that and start the 7K range.
Yeah, no, I got a couple things on a couple drivers you mentioned. Tyler Reddick in Xfinity. He has 4 races, 2 in 2018, 2 in 2019, and he's got top 10s in all of them. And in 2019, he was 3rd in both. So he does have some good track history. He was fast and had some good average run speeds, or average run speeds. Yeah. During those. So yeah, he's pretty strong here. Love that play. I think that is, if you are going with two guys up top, pairing Reddick with two guys up top in the 9K, even the 9,500 range is possible. And Reddick really helps that. And starting 12th is nice for him as well. I think he's going to be a little bit lower owned, people looking at his track history here. But I think, like you said, he's been my breakout driver of the year. He's shown a lot of speed. Keselowski is going to crash my one and done driver like he has, I think, 4 straight weeks now. Every week, no matter who I choose, has been in an accident of not his fault. And I think it's been Keselowski 3 or 4 times taking him out. So that driver is William Byron, unfortunately. So if the trend continues, it's not going to be a good day. But either way, I'm fading Keselowski as well. I do agree with you on Chastain. I think he's the guy in that range for your place differential. And in terms of practice, I just wanted to slide over in there and see what he looked like. Yeah, he was super fast. 5th overall average and top 10 in both 5 and 10 laps. So I do like that. I just want to look. Do you know what happened to Logano in the practice? They were pushing his car to the pits. I'm assuming maybe he flat spotted a tire or something like that. I'm not 100% on that.
All I saw yesterday from practice,
he saved it.
Somebody scraped
he spun out.
Okay.
There we go. Spun out and saved it. So no backup car. I think he might have grazed the wall, I think maybe, but no backup car, nothing. So I imagine he flat spotted it and then they had to push him back or whatever, because I think once they get flat tires, they're done. So Randy says takedown city. Yes, definitely. One of us needs to take that down today. Thoughts on Logano Reddick after practice? I'm not on Logano myself. I know you didn't really mention him either. I don't think either of us are really on Logano today, starting 10th.
He is good here, though. I mean, if
he
you
is.
look at his history, he's good at this track. So maybe he's a GPP option. It's just that I like other guys around him more.
Yeah, so there's your fades for that top tier again, because you're going to see probably top 3 ownership in Truex, Elliott with their track history or with their place differential there, and then probably Blaney for Dominator. So I think Logano is probably going to come in, let's say, out of these top 10 drivers, what's Harvick up 9? So out of those 9 drivers, I think we're probably going to see him like 6th or 7th in ownership possibly. So that could be a really good pivot play. Logano in there, Randy, I do like that. Ryan asks, do you all recommend stacking teams at this race? Not necessarily on a short track. That's more of a Daytona, Talladega thing. Even like Michigan, Fontana, old Indy, not so much anymore because it's road race. But not necessarily looking at that myself. Are you looking at any team stacking or anything like that at these short tracks?
No, but it has, as far as manufacturers, if you think through the first few races, last week it was kind of the Toyotas there until the caution with Kyle and Truex, and they had not been one of the top teams in any of the races before. It was the Fords at Daytona, and then the Chevys at Auto Club. So, I mean, maybe you could take that route and go one of the manufacturers. I don't think I'm going as specific as doing teams or anything.
Yeah, there you go. That's a really good point, doing manufacturer stacking versus team stacking here. Because like you said, when one manufacturer seems to have it figured out, a lot of the cross teams seem to have it as well, and it's not necessarily correlated. It doesn't seem like, I don't have the exact numbers, but it doesn't seem exactly correlated to teams versus manufacturers figuring out. Because like Kyle Busch said, they just get all their parts from Walmart anyway. So that was hilarious. Anyways, what was I going to look at here? There's one thing I wanted to jump over and have. Oh, the season data. So that was one thing I really wanted to look at, was the parity in the sport this year. So these guys that maybe in the past we had a little bit tighter of a player pool, you can kind of open that up a little bit this year, especially if guys projected to be low owned. You think a guy's going to be low owned? Okay, so that kind of steers us into Mike's question here. Define chalk. Chalk just means high owned. If a guy's chalk in the top tier, he's going to be high owned, is all that means. So chalk with Elliott, Truex, what we're saying is he's going to be very high owned. It's pretty much all chalk means. So, but yeah, if you're thinking a guy's going to be low owned, but you really like him, that's probably going to be a good play for you, at least, before the race starts and crashes start happening and stuff like that, mechanical failures or anything, but going into it, because if you look at the parity here, Almirola, who would have guessed that going into the season that the first 3 races, he would be the only one with top 10s in all the races. And if we look at that a little bit further, I'm just going to sort this here while I go through it. Only 4 drivers have 2 top 10s in the 3 races, only 2 top 10s out of the first 3 races. So only 1 driver, and Kyle Larson, has top 5s in both. So there's a lot of parity. I think that's going to continue. Like I said, this is the 5th different track type. I know this is fairly similar to the Coliseum, but still 5th different track type this season. With all this new data, new car and stuff. So there's just a little bit more variance this year, a lot more parity. It's really good to watch. There's a lot more cars that have a chance at not only contending in the race, but winning the race. And I think we're going to see a lot of winners this year. So yeah, that's what I got to say on that. So Andrew comes up now, and he wants to know your favorite drivers under 6K. I'm assuming that's on DraftKings. So let's just dive right down into that range here. Just above the 6K, I do a lot. Well, we got to talk about Stenhouse. Is he chalk for you? Is he? I didn't talk about ownership overall, but overall, I think he's a top 2 ownership play. He didn't qualify starting from the back. He's got up and down track history, but he's got top 10 upside for sure. He was fast 15th, I think. No, 25th in practice, 20th in 5 and 10 lap averages. But again, had that issue and is in a backup car. But starting 36th, even if you put him at 42 points, gives him 6x. So he can hit 6x just inside a top 20. He can give you 5x at 35 points there. So yeah, you're looking at like 21st, 22nd. I think he's a shoe-in for, I don't want to say a lock for a top 20, but he's got a really good chance to get a top 20 and easily crush his price tag. Is he in your player pool?
Yeah, he's my highest owned guy. And it was something with the engine, I think. So I don't even think you can look at the practice times, because I think they completely had to replace the engine, that there was something going on. But yeah, with how he's done this year, they've shown speed with that team. It's just a matter of, can he get to the end of the race, I guess. But yeah, I would expect like around a 15th place finish, and if he gets anywhere close to that, he's going to smash. So I think you got to have a lot of interest in Stenhouse. Dropping on down below, I think. Well, my second highest driver is going to be Bubba. Just way too cheap for where he's starting and what he can run. I mean, it's starting 27th. I think he's a top 20 car for sure, if not around 15th. Again,
that's 5 to 6x.
Yeah, it's just kind of that team putting it all together, getting towards the end. And if he's there at the end, I think for sure he's pushing a top 15 finish, and that would be more than enough for sure.
And that is some of the best equipment of these guys in this sub 7K range. You're looking at, the 14, the 23, the 41, some of the best equipment anyway, and some of the top teams. But I agree, Bubba, you're looking at a floor of, if he finishes 20th, you're getting 5x. If he finishes 15th, you're exceeding 6x. So that's a high floor, high ceiling as well kind of play. Love Chris Buescher. He's finished ahead of his starting spot in 7 straight races here. And that actually correlates right back when they changed it to the start finish line. So he's done quite well. 25th here in the championship final, but he looks like he's consistent 18th to 20th place finisher here at this track. So we'll just go look at that. He needs 33.5. Yeah, that kind of puts us right in that range. So you're looking at 5x at an 18th. I think he's another driver that can probably stretch it into like a, let's say 12th to 15th kind of upside. So that gets him in that 6 to 7x upside as well. So I'm on him as well. Justin Haley is as low as I'm personally going as of right now. I think I like Ty Dillon, but starting 21st is just a little bit too far forward for me. You're looking at, out of these guys, well, you need 30 points out of them at their price points. So you are looking at a 17th place finish for Ty Dillon versus about a 20th, 21st for Haley. It's close between them, but I'm leaning Haley over Dillon. How do you feel in that 1 versus 1?
Well, Haley for sure for me. And I did end up going below 6K a little bit. Don't have any crazy exposure, but Harrison Burton, I have some interest in him at 5,700. And then Todd Gilliland, I have him like 15% of him at 4,900 is just too cheap. I don't expect very much out of him, but he does allow you to do a lot with the rest of your lineup. If he could scrape out a top 25 or something, maybe that would be enough. But you're probably going to need him closer to 20th, depending on what all these other cars do in this range. I mean, if all the wrecks or all the problems happen with this 6K range or something, that's going to be chalk. I think that's when a Gilliland play can come in and pay off for you if you can play him and get up to some other guys. But I don't have a ton of exposure to him. But those would be my two favorites under 6K, with Haley right there at the 6K mark.
I was looking at McDowell earlier. Again, I don't like the starting position, but he's been consistent here. Consistent top 25, but that's not really going to get it done. 25.5 points. You need a top 20, a 20th at least kind of out of McDowell to make that happen. You've kind of got me on Gilliland here, actually, at 4,900, starting 33rd. 25 fantasy points. We'd be thrilled with a 5X out of a guy that's 4,900. And that's only a 25th place finish. I think we could even get away with the 26th, even the 27th at 21 fantasy points. You're still above that 4X range in terms of return. And that price, if you pair him with another guy, say sub 7K range, and you have two in that range, you're going to be able to easily, like you had talked about, Larson and Blaney, get in your early dominator and then possibly get in your late dominator and winner in that lineup very easily. And you'd be able to then go and probably stack another top guy and probably another mid-tier guy to complete that lineup. So I'm with you on Gilliland. If I get up to my 20, I'm probably going to have about 15 to 20% exposure, I think, to that, just because I like so many guys in that top tier. So you always get me on one guy. I'm glad you're back on the show here, because Todd Gilliland's going to be the guy today. He's the new Alfredo in Cup Series.
Well, if you look at the car he's in, I mean, that would make complete sense. So,
right.
But let's just hope. What I was going to say with Stenhouse, and I forgot to say, let's just hope that the mega chalk guy that I go very heavy on doesn't happen like Alfredo yesterday. That was absolutely brutal. I instantly closed the race off and checked it back about halfway through, and it ended up working out. But that was just brutal, watching that car get pushed back to the garage before the race even started. Ugh.
Yeah, that was brutal. I got home kind of just in time to see like the final 10, 20 laps, so I didn't really get to see a whole lot, but it was nice to see who else had trouble early. Bane, and there was someone else that kind of made Allmendinger had some issues, and he made his way up through the field. That brings me to Allmendinger, actually. I wanted your opinion on him. He hasn't raced here since 2018, 2017, but if I went back and looked at his Cup Series finishes and his top tracks, and wouldn't you know it, Phoenix is his third best track in terms of average finish in his career of the tracks that he's raced 10 or more times. Watkins Glen number one, obviously that's where he's got his career win at. Homestead was actually number two. That was a bit surprising for me. And then right behind was Phoenix. And then there's quite a bit of a gap actually until you get to Martinsville, Atlanta, Fontana. So he was good at Phoenix in the past. He looked pretty good yesterday. From what I seen in some of the replays, and he started 29th. Now, let's find him on the matrix here real quick. So 36 points. That's an 18th place finish. That doesn't seem too bad. I do like a lot more guys. I'm not going to have as much exposure because Stenhouse is right there, and then like going down to Gill and some of these guys in my Stars and Scrubs build, I'm probably going to be a little bit lower owned or lower exposure than the field on Allmendinger. But an 18th place finish to hit 5X and about a 14th place finish to hit that 6. I mean, the ultimate upside is limited a little bit, but I think he can still get you 5 to 6X on the upside. I think there's just a little bit more risk there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have quite a bit of Allmendinger there at 7,200. Like you said, I think there's a lot of things that just make a lot of sense to play him. So, yeah, I'll definitely be on him starting 29th.
For sure.
One guy we did not mention is in that upper 7K range, and I'm going to be probably 3 times the field on him, is Austin Cendrick. Starting 8th, I think he fits in as another I think he does need dominator points if you're going to win the GPP or something. So he fits in that group of 2 to 3 dominators. But he was very good here in Xfinity. He's in a very good equipment. Has looked quick this weekend, so Austin Cendrick at 7,700 is just underpriced for me. I think he has a very strong day today.
Awesome. Oh, someone we didn't talk about, Jim is asking, is Bowman. Is he going to back into another win? No, he didn't say that. I'm sure that's what Kyle Busch is thinking. But Bowman, 8,700 is pretty cheap. Starting 9th, I'm not interested. I have more interest going up to Harvick starting 16th in that same price range, or Reddick, like you talked about, right below him. You get that 3 extra place differential points here. I know he's got a little bit better track history. Now we go look at practice. They had similar practice, but in terms of long run, Reddick was a lot faster, 4th, 6th, and 4th, and 5:10 and 15 lap averages. So it's Reddick over Bowman 100% for me. If we're looking at that, or even down to Chastain, you get that place differential as well. So I'm not on Bowman at all. Full fade of Bowman for me, and I think he's probably going to be one of the lowest owned drivers. If you're looking at that range, let's just say 8,500 and up, Reddick to Larson type thing. I think he's probably going to be 10th to 12th in ownership in that range.
Yeah, I kind of lumped him in there with that group with Kurt that I am fading today. So right on line.
Then Austin Dillon, any thoughts on him?
I think if he was starting like 20th, I'd be fine with him. But I mean, that's just another guy that you could take a chance on that's going to be low owned, and who knows if a team hits on this car or something on the setup this weekend, he could get up there and get a top 5 or something. That's kind of what we're seeing this year. He could do so, but just like other guys, specifically Cendrick around him more.
Biggie, I just wrote it in chat here as well. Larson gets his place differential points from 7th because his unapproved adjustments were after qualifying, so that's why he goes to the rear. So we won't get his place differential back until he gets back to 7th place. So he starts with a negative points in terms of place differential. But like Dane said, he thinks he's going to take about the first stage. We do get that competition caution in there as well. So he gets 2 restarts with the fastest car in the field to help him get up there. So Dane almost has me on the Larson Blaney build just because you can go with the early and the late. But as of right now, I'm not on Larson. Dane is. This is going to be talked about all year long. He's just so damn fast each and every week. He's no surprise here. He's my favorite to win the championship here again. He's first or second in every single race, it seems like. I was just looking at the overall season data here. You're talking about Austin Dillon. If you take out Daytona, which is Daytona, 2nd at Fontana, 11th at Vegas. So that was a lot better than, I hadn't really put that together. So he's been solid for sure. But another driver you had talked about, who I think is going to be low owned starting top 10, is Austin Cendrick. He does obviously won the Daytona 500, so that's going to help his average finish here some. Wasn't terrific here. He had an average run at Fontana of 10th, totally different track, obviously, but I think he may fly under the radar, and I believe he was fast in practice. We'll go check that out here real quick. Cendrick. But yeah, he's going to be super low owned. I think Dillon might even get more ownership than him. Yes, he was 3rd overall average, and then 7th, 4th, and 5th. So definitely like that. Any other drive? Oh, thoughts on Suarez? I don't have any Suarez down here. I've kind of got it narrowed down to about 5 value plays. Well, 6 now with Gilliland. Suarez starting 23rd. He did 24th overall average, 13th in both 5 and 10 lap averages, 10th and 15 lap averages. I believe there was only 16 cars. There was only 15 cars. So that wasn't too great of the long run stuff, but starting 23rd, I just got more Buescher and Wallace. He kind of falls right in between those two, and I have a lot of exposure to Buescher, Wallace, and then up to Stenhouse. So for me, it's a fade of Suarez, but again, he could be one of those low-owned GPP darts if there's going to be a lot of crashes, and I believe someone even asked how many crashes you predict. I'm going to say cautions, not crashes. Outside of the stages, 6 to 7 is kind of what I got. What are you thinking? And do you like Suarez?
Yeah, somewhere in there. This is like you said on the restarts, can get crazy, especially towards the end of the race. And something they always say on the broadcast is cautions breed caution. So I think it's just kind of a deal of Especially here they do. So I think it's just a deal of towards the end of this race, does it run green or do we start getting any cautions towards the end? As far as Suarez, actually, I do prefer him over Busher. And it's just a matter of this. I think this team, Trackhouse, has really hit on something. If you look at last week with Chastain and Suarez, that new group there, they are really hitting on something. Suarez, I think, benefits from that starting 23rd. So 6,600 is just too cheap for him. So I have right at 25%, I believe, right now.
Awesome. Jim asked thoughts on AJ. Talked about him a little bit. I'm gonna have exposure starting 29th, but probably he was even fast. Like he was 15th fastest overall, average 11th and 5. He lost some speed in those long runs a little bit, but I'll still have some exposure, probably in the 20% range. But I've got a lot more Stenhouse. So if you want to be a little bit contrarian, maybe go underweight on Stenhouse and maybe overweight on Allmendinger if you want to. That's one way of doing it. But I'll have exposure, just going to be a little bit underweight on Allmendinger. What were you on Allmendinger? How were you standing?
Allmendinger, I have 40%.
Okay. I know Randy asked earlier. I think I scrolled by it, but who's your favorite GPP value? I don't know if that means GPP dart down below that we like, but I'll go with 2. I'll give you my favorite GPP play overall that I think is going to be low owned with a lot of upside. And I actually think that's going to be, we talked about him. Where is it here? I had it labeled on my other page. Sorry, I had to open my other tab. Down in the bottom, I think Ty Dillon, 21st. If you got a lot of Haley, I think you can pivot off of him. So I don't mind that. And then up top, it's tough because I do like a lot of guys up there. So I want to go with one that I don't have exposure to. Probably, I'm going to go Reddick. I think starting 12th. I don't think he sees a lot of ownership because I think a lot of people start with 3 drivers in, say, the mid 9K range. Let's go even Harvick at the 91 up range. I think a lot of people start their lineup with 3 drivers in this group of drivers, which kind of pushes you past this mid tier and then down into this bottom stars and scrubs tier. So I think Reddick maybe a little bit lower on, and I think he's most definitely got top 5 in winning upside.
Yeah, I think my top GPP play overall is going to be Cendrick, a little bit below 1,800 below Reddick. I think he'll be low on, so that's where
he'll be even lower owned. I think. Yeah,
like Reddick too for sure.
Cendrick's going to be even lower owned, and like he's almost 1,000 cheaper. He's 800 cheaper, and he's only losing 4 place differential points, but again makes it up with the price differential. And he's going to could be, I would say 3 to 5% owned possibly. The fact that he's starting top 10, but they've showed speed. I think he can. Let's find out where he actually has to hold on to here, where he doesn't ruin our lineups. I would take just over 4x as a not ruining my lineup. So 30 points, that's an 11th place. So he really needs to hold on to 10th. And a top 5 would be looking real good for him. So very low owned, a lot can happen. Did you say how many cautions you think? I was 6 to 7. What's your guess there?
I just said right around the same. I mean, probably 5 or 6. It's just kind of it's just all about how the race starts panning out. If somebody has a problem, I think it's going to, towards the end, I think we're going to have a lot at the end. It's just a matter if we get those restarts within the last 50 laps or so.
Awesome stuff. Well, that covers everything. I think no more questions. I've been scrolling through. I don't see any that we missed or anything like that. So that's good. If you do have more questions, you can leave them in the comments below in the video after. If you missed the start of the video, definitely go back and check it out. Rewind to the start. Leave your questions below, or Twitter at Jaeger_bombs9 or at Redstag007, or you can hit us up in our Discord. You can get a free trial into that Discord as well. The link is down below in the description. Join, reach out to Dane or myself, or in the trial members or the main members chat if you have any questions there. Other than that, any final thoughts, Dane?
I think that covers it for me.
Awesome.
Have a good day.
Let's go build some lineups, and I'll see you in winning picks at the end of the night. Cheers, everyone.
Good luck, everybody.